Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Inside Lowell Daily Pulse, the Wednesday, March 5th edition of the Daily Pulse. Thank you for joining us here in the WellPoint Studios. I'm going to get right to my special guest for today's Daily Pulse. Making his second appearance here on our daily show is the city manager of the city of Lowell, Tom Golden. Good morning, Mr. Manager. How are you, sir?
Good morning, Mr. Panos. How are you, sir?
Mr. Panos. Wow.
Well, because your father's name is Stavros, so
That's right.
we don't call him Mr. Panos, or Mr. P.
Mr. P. Good to have you here. City Council meeting last night. Lots of good stuff going on there. Lots of good stuff happening in the city. Lots of interesting stuff. And then we always appreciate you coming on in here to chat about it with us. We're going to get right to the conversation. Let me just quickly thank our Daily Pulse sponsors. Ray Booten, licensed realtor in Massachusetts and New Hampshire, certified appraiser in both of those states as well. So if you're looking to buy or sell a home, a business, or a commercial property, Real Estate Ray Booten is your man. Far better realtor than that Golden character, I can promise you.
I'd let Ray sell my house.
Find him online, realestaterayBooten.com. Thank you as well to our friends at WellPoint. WellPoint is the only health plan offering healthcare benefits exclusively to Massachusetts GIC members. At WellPoint, your whole health is their whole point. We're excited to be here in the WellPoint studios with the birthday boy.
Oh, thank you.
It's your birthday today.
I'm so glad that you brought that. That's awesome.
Somebody had told me, and I completely forgot. And then you blame your sister. Your sister put a Facebook post on that I
wish I could
across.
show you the photos that are coming to me from when I was a child.
Well, we shared some. You were one of our Inside Lowell yearbook subjects, and we got some photos of a very young Tom Golden.
The flow. I had the flow. I mean, I still have the flow. It's just
you still have a good set of hair.
It's a little lighter.
A little
Not
grayer than it was, but
be.
it's distinguished.
I keep hearing that. That's Malaki.
Well, congratulations on another trip around the sun. Congratulations on what appears to be a contract extension, of course, until the two sides ink the deal.
Correct. So what happens? Yeah, what happens with the contract is we're in tough negotiations right now. I'm very happy with it. I'm very happy with the contract the way it is, and trying to move forward. You know, we're still negotiating, myself and the mayor, all right, and we'll go to the executive session and whatnot. But I don't think really needs much. I'm not asking for anything other than just an extension to know where we're going to be in the next couple of years, 2 to 3 years. I'm hoping. But that's something that I would offer. We've had a discussion about it. It appears that the council voted in favor of it, but there is one formality that we still need to do, and I'm very thankful for the council. Very thankful for their comments. I think their comments were nice. It was very, very nice to hear all of the pieces, and I'm glad it was voted on at that point to move forward with an extension. Yeah,
Julius Caesar was getting all sorts of comments too until the knife went in the back.
The council works extremely.
Were you going anywhere? Is there another job in elected office or running a city town for you?
No, there's no other job that I want, to be quite frank with you. You know, will I ever retire from the city? Probably not. At 54 today, I have 11 more years to find my way through whatever that's going to be. Many people know I still have 2 children in college.
Daughters. So if you follow tradition, you got to pay for the weddings.
So that's at least 11 years.
Move, yeah.
So at age 19 and 21 this year, they will be. So I got another 11 years, but I'm very happy. I've never been happy. My wife said this to me one time. You know, you really are fully engaged. It was nice. She's like, you were doing great things. I really enjoyed the legislature a lot. I'm a House guy, as you know, and I see those guys like Panagiotakis and Bador, and we kind of go back and forth and give each other a hard time about the House and the Senate. But truthfully, always been a House guy. I miss seeing friends of mine down there. We still get a chance to go to dinner, shoot the breeze on the phone, et cetera. And that's what I miss. But quite frankly, becoming the city manager, there's a different aspect to it. It's an everyday aspect. It truly is. I say it's 6.5 days a week, but it's exciting. And talking to all of the other previous managers of Lowell, it's exciting. You have to stay excited about it because it can get tiring. But I'm happy about it. I think the council is very happy, given the support that I've received and given the comments. I'm excited to work for them. I think they're excited that I work for them. And I'm ready to continue to move forward with a whole bunch of ideas that have been going on. Executive session's been going on an awful lot, and I know that people, I don't particularly care for executive session. I'd rather just talk about it. So it's kind of a little bit different. But when you're in negotiations, I've done plenty of negotiations in my private life that sometimes you just have to keep it. There's a lot of, I guess when they say in government, sausage making, but that's true in the private sector as well. And with my experience in real estate in the private sector, with the small company that I own, or I still own, but don't have much to do with anymore. But it's exciting to have the experience of private sector and the experience of the public sector, and I think that that's helped me a lot with some of the challenges that are going on in the city.
Okay, there's been some back and forth about your contract and how the city may not be able to afford you in 3 years. I mean, I look at it and say they're going to have to pay somebody, whether it's you or whoever. But your current contract that you're working under, your pay started at a level.
Correct.
And you actually clarified it. You didn't start at more than Eileen Donahue. No. When she left, you started just below, correct?
Yes. Yeah, I think it was about 20,000 less.
And then you've gotten step increases and cost of living increases.
Right. So similar to what the union employees or any of the employees, they have step increases, and that's longevity pay is one way to look at it. But then there's also the cost of the living adjustment, and that COLA is something that is we go through all of the CBAs, which is the coalition bargaining agreements, which we just did, and essentially what the unions all pretty much get the same, and I say pretty much. I did open up the CBAs for a lot of the workers prior to. It's the first time it's ever happened, and I'm very proud of that because we had an opportunity to bring more money into the pockets of our employees who are really hustling and making the city as beautiful as it is. When I first got here, I believe there was 80, and it fluctuates daily. People like, what do you mean it fluctuates? People retire, people get sick, people leave, people move to wherever they're going to move to. But when I first got here, there was approximately 85 or 88 openings. We have in maybe the teens, and those openings really are due to people retiring, people moving, people not wanting to work here, they go to work someplace else. One of the big numbers is always out there is the police department. Police department, I think I just read a report the other day, is approximately we have 219 sworn officers. We're supposed to have 250. We have, I think, 11 going through the next class. And what the legislature just did, we have now the ability to go out and hire from other departments that are non-civil service. So we may very well be, for the first time in a long time, fully staffed up in the police department in, I'll say, years to come, whether it be the next 6 months, 12 months, 18 months or so. We could be fully staffed. Our LPD, and I brag about this all the time, they do a fabulous job. Our NRU unit, our gang unit, our just officers on the quote-unquote the beat, they do a dynamite job day in and day out. And the interesting thing is when you want to talk about the police department, people will see an officer in, a typical police car. That officer is the beat cop or the district cop or whatever the case may be. They're tending to go to Teddy Panos just got into a car accident, so they're going to that car accident. So people will complain to me, oh, I just saw something happen and a police officer just went by. Well, that officer is going to a call. The other officers, the NRU or the gang unit or other officers are showing up to those pieces. So it's kind of interesting. Every time you see a black and white, I guess, if you could call it, right? They're not always assumed just to be driving around, aimlessly not doing anything, because I'll tell you, the calls that they get, it would blow your hair back. It really would. They work extremely hard. It's an extremely difficult job. I'm very thankful for them, and very, very happy that I really believe within the years to come, Superintendent Hudon's been working on this very, very closely. We'll be bringing in other people from possibly other states, other cities, other towns, not through the civil service exam, and these are trained officers ready to hit the street, ready to work.
All right. So on the increases, you increased pay levels for a number of positions so
Correct.
you could be competitive and fill slots. Is that an increase above and beyond the step increase plus cost of living?
So
or is the step increase the negotiated rate?
So the cost of living happens July 1st of every year.
Okay, automatic. Okay. And the step increase?
Well, automatically if there is one. There's
Okay.
been a number of years there's a lot in cost of living. Sometimes they've been 0, sometimes they've been 1, sometimes they've been 2. We operated on a 4-3-2. We offered 4%, 3%, and then 2%. So this July it'll be 3, and then the next July it'll be 2%.
You offer that as a cost of living
Correct.
increase?
Yep.
Okay.
The cost of living increase.
So that is the raise. That is the raise.
raise.
And then they get the step for longevity.
They get step for longevity, but then a long-term employee, this is important, a long-term employee can quote unquote step out. They're done. They can't go any higher. And what had happened is a lot of our long-time employees were stepped out. And what had happened through the years is another town, one of our competitors all the time is the university, because it's right up the street, right? You could drive to the city hall or the UMass Lowell just as quickly, Middlesex Community College. So we looked around to add, the administrative assistants, anything of that. And we're finding out that we're competing against other city and other towns and other state entities where our money wasn't there. And that's why we had 88. It's not really that hard. When you start to say somebody is starting at, say, $50,000, but literally up the street, they're starting at 58, 60, or et cetera. And that was the aggressiveness that it came in out of the first time. Some of those folks, some of those steps will be renegotiated, and that has happened throughout the CBAs, the coalition bargaining agreements, where we've added a step or whatever the case may be.
Did you make it a point when you were negotiating these contracts to say, hey, look, you're being treated the same way I am? Are they being treated the same way you are? Or are you getting, obviously your starting salary level is different. Yeah, so a 3% increase for you is different than a 3% increase
but
for
we're all getting,
you're all getting the same thing.
If you're not,
you didn't ask for more.
No, if you're not stepped out, which is maybe a potentially an employee that's been there 20 years or so, a valued employee, but sometimes that stepped out employee will go up to another rung on the ladder. So, but no, I get the same thing they get.
Okay.
Now, I get the same thing. However, I get the same percentage, but the dollar figure.
Right, because you make more
Correct.
money.
And any manager or middle manager or whatever that's making more money obviously gets the same type of growth. But in the industry, if you look throughout government is an industry, if you look at it, and when you start to look around different cities and towns, we have to stay competitive with our treasurer. We have to stay competitive with our auditor. We have to stay competitive with our clerk. There are a lot of cities and towns that actually pay very close to what we pay, and quite frankly, less of a headache.
Has any union come to you since it was announced that you're going to get an extension 2 years early and say, well, we got 2 years left on our contract, we'd like to renegotiate?
No, it's just a congratulations usually.
No. Would it make sense for them to do so? Or just wait until they see?
They could. Sure, they could. I mean, I did it. I did it for the unions, some of the unions, not all the unions, but I did it for the unions when I first got here. That was one of the primary, that took 1.5 years. Some would say, goodness, I just finished before we started actually negotiations for the 3-year contract. I was advised against it by some, saying that you don't ever open up a CBA, which is once again a coalition bargaining agreement. But I walked in with, this is what we have to offer. I want Teddy to stay. I want Teddy to join the team. I want Mary to stay, Mary to join the team, Lisa to stay, whatever the case may be. It was vital that we dove into it immediately when I got here to say that Teddy, Mary, Tommy, Lisa, they're not making what their counterparts are making in other towns. What we really were seeing was we were having expertise and people that really cared, but they moved with their feet. And they went to other cities, other towns, other municipalities, other governments, and sometimes in aspects, other jobs, because it was $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 more. We were, I would say, underpaying, quite frankly, for quite some time.
Okay. Will your next contract that you're in the midst of negotiating now, will it also be on par with what you expect that you can budget going forward?
Correct. I'm not
for other employees.
Correct.
As well.
Whatever the employees percentage would get, I'm not looking for anything.
Will you take
guaranteed.
a hometown discount? Will you take for renegotiating early instead of waiting? Like the Red Sox did for Mookie Betts. You did take a hometown discount. Will you do it again?
I just keep it as is and not look for anything more. So whatever whatever we negotiate with the unions on the cost of living for the future would be that. You got to remember. So
what you get, the unions will
100%.
get.
I'm not looking
All right,
for.
well, you just gave them a starting point, though. So what if they say we want to?
No, that contract's already gone. The 432 is already going, right? So this July it'll be another 3%. Everybody in the organization will get 3%, and then next July it'll be 2%. And once again, part of that was to bring everyone up to par. And I would like to think, and I'm not right, but I would like to think that we're paid just a tad more. But my sense is we're close, and I'm not very comfortable saying that every job that we have throughout the city, we're paying more than everybody else. But I'd stated previously here and everywhere, my goal is to ensure, and people will cringe when I say this, but I want to have the best pay and the best workforce by the time I leave, whenever that may be. I'm looking to make sure that people say to themselves, the city of Lowell, that's a place you want to go to work. Where previously it was, I can go anywhere but, because they're not paying. I think it's extremely important to make sure that the workforce is showing up every day with pride. And I have seen tremendous amounts of pride, Lowell pride. I had once said, we're on offense, and that's through DPW. And I think DPW has done a phenomenal job. DPW and Parks has really turned it up. They actually have it on the back of their shirts. We're on offense, because what I'm asking them for, see it, deal with it. Just deal with it. Don't wait for something to come in. Don't just do the bare minimum. And quite frankly, some folks that were too used to the bare minimum, they're changing their ways, or they've decided to find other jobs, and that's fine. That's fine by me. We have some positions that are open where people want to be aggressive. They want to make sure that the taxpayer or the city resident, and a lot of times they're city residents, so they want to make sure that they're being paid fairly, but they're also doing the work that any resident would expect. So
I think I've grilled you enough on your contract. But you don't expect any speed bumps. It'll be negotiated. Can it be signed before April 28th or April 29th?
No,
based on that 5-year.
Yeah, it'll be based on the April 28th timeframe. But when negotiations, contracts, this one I can tell you would be extremely easy. But we could sign it tomorrow if we could.
Easier or than the first one?
No, I don't
think the first one was too contentious.
No, that was done in the evening. Okay. I would expect that if the council is satisfied with the extension of years, nothing changes.
All right. We're chatting with Lowell City Manager Tom Golden. He's joining us here on the Daily Pulse. It is Wednesday, March 5th, the day after the council meeting. We're going to get right into that council meeting. First, let me thank our Daily Pulse sponsors. Of course, Ray Booten, licensed realtor, Massachusetts and New Hampshire, certified appraiser in both of those states as well. Find him online, realestaterayBooten.com. Thank you as well to our friends at WellPoint. At WellPoint, your whole health is their whole point. Washington Savings Bank, make the switch now to Washington Savings Bank, banking that feels like home. TMI Properties, quality and value at every price point. Find your perfect space with TMI. Mahoney Oil, providing warmth and protection to Greater Lowell, Southern New Hampshire since 1925. Do the math. It's a century. Greater Lowell Community Foundation, improving the quality of life in Greater Lowell through strategic, impactful philanthropy. Francis E. Preventure Insurance, insuring your most valuable assets since 1982. And by the Massachusetts Pirates, bringing all the hard-hitting action and excitement of arena football to the Mill City and to the Tsongas Center. March 21st is when the Pirates open up their season, almost 2 weeks from today. All right, let's get back to it. City Manager Tom Golden. Last night's City Council meeting, and by the way, our friend, the Lowell citizen, Ryan Gilday, has posted his Government Was Happening recap, where he looked at 2 of the issues.
How did I do? I love Ryan. I didn't get a chance.
I think you were clear. I don't think you were mentioned, but Smith Baker and the high school were, and we're going to talk about him here. Find it, InsideLowell.com. Government Was Happening by the Lowell.
I got to tell Ryan, I do read his. I like it.
He's great.
I like his memes, right?
Pop culture references, sarcasm that I can truly appreciate.
Well, I can read it and I understand it. So
and a smart dude.
and you know what? He's a heck of a lot younger than I am, but he must have watched a lot of 80s movies or something like that.
Of course, we all did, right? We all shit on the 80s, but it was a great era. Executive session, again, over Sal Lopoli. Have we reached a resolution? Is this still ongoing after last night?
Once again, in negotiations, it's difficult, and I can fully appreciate the fact of, as much as I don't necessarily like it, I think we could but negotiations are still ongoing. And the council's really digging into this. I'm very happy with all of their input, but it's difficult. So to be continued.
What's the negotiation? Is it over the design, or
Really?
is it over a buyout?
Really?
Well, Corey Belanger sat there last week and said, well, there's a possibility. He thinks there's a possibility that Mr. Lopoli moves off his 5-story wood design.
Everything's on the table, but it honestly is to not negotiate. I don't want to get jammed up by any stretch, but it's to be continued. The council's been brought up to speed. No surprise, we'll be in next Tuesday as well, and probably the following Tuesday, to quite frank with you.
So whatever is being negotiated is in a very active phase right now.
It's very active.
Is it more contentious than your contract negotiation?
It's every contract, every discussion is just different. I would say that the negotiation of my contract would be very simple.
All right. The Smith-Baker Center.
Yes.
Or as some folks have jokingly called it, the Smith-Baker Honduras McCarthy Center. Look, I understand the passion for a historic building and resuscitating it,
Yep.
but I have to tell you, this never-ending saga is making me long for the homeless advocates to come back into council chambers just to kind of change the subject. Why are we still debating Smith-Baker Center after we voted to demolish it in January?
But I think it's, first of all, opinions change. Everybody wants to feel like they're being heard. I think the council is always with their ear to the ground. I mean, the elected, you don't get any closer to the public than being a city councilor. You're walking through Dunkin' Donut, you go to Market Basket, you do your thing, and you're seeing people and you're catching ideas, and people hear things never in real time. Right? So there's a number of things that happen throughout the city, and I say this half tongue-in-cheek, okay? When we talk about the Lowell Folks Festival, people will actually say to me, "Oh, I forgot that was this weekend," and I just was like, "I'm like, ow," They
clearly don't work in the restaurant industry. We know, I can tell you when the folk
exactly. You can tell me exactly when it's going to happen, time frames, and everything else. But so people don't always listen to government or what's happening in government in real time. We do, you do, the councilors do. But somebody will read about it or catch a blog or listen to InsideLowell or whatever the case may be. They think about it, and then they all of a sudden will see a counselor or myself or anybody in the team say, "Hey, I heard this. Why are you guys doing that?" And it's unequivocally happens all the time. So I think that the further discussion that is happening is the council listening to constituents, Lowellians, as to what is next, what could we do. So what can we do? It's really up to the council. The council is going to make a decision, I believe, next week to have a discussion about pulling it back for now, putting it out for 30, 60, 90 days. And I'm making that up. I have no idea where that's going to go. But at the same time, you can't work in two, and I misspoke last night. What I meant to say is we could still talk about the potential demolition as to what is the order of operation and how to get to that order of operation. You can't have both going at the same time. But that's going to be the council's decision next week. And, we work for the council and we'll figure it out.
But that complicates things, especially if you have, because now
a little bit.
If I understood your solicitor, Corey Williams, correctly last night, well, you can't just have one group go in and look at it, because that gives them an advantage in the RFP process, because you can't, as well intentioned as this group might be, the Save Smith-Baker or whatever they're calling themselves, you can't just turn the building over to them or sell it to them. You have to put out an RFP and invite other people to come in. Now, I doubt there'll be people trampling to do it.
You never know. You never know.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. If they go in there and say, well, we believe we can do this and that, well, maybe somebody gets on there and goes, I can do it for cheaper or whatever.
Well, I think there's always going to be somebody that's going to go in and say, we can save that. We can do this. You can remember, folks, we can do anything, or you can do anything, or anybody can do anything. When you're trying to rebuild something, anything is possible. The problem that you always run into is the finances. Where are the finances for this? Now, and I think I made a comment last night. I wasn't being fresh, because it does happen, and it's happened here in the city of Lowell. You very well could run into an angel investor, right? Where the angel investor is going to say, "Oh my goodness, this is my jam." Once again, that angel investor comes forward and says, "I'm going to give you $20 million because I believe in X." And people are shaking their heads saying, "No way, it's not going to happen." There'll be an announcement soon that it has happened.
I'm hearing there are some angels floating around the Mill City.
Not with
looking to do some investing.
Right. Not with this particular property, but another property. And there could be angel investors and other. And what I mean is they're coming in and saying, "Yes, this is what we're going to do because I believe in your cause." So, honestly, I think that the council is listening to constituents, taking one last step, trying to figure it out, and trying to get everybody comfortable. But I do believe if that doesn't happen, from the administration standpoint, we'll look at it and we'll continue to move forward. So last night when I said we can move in both the same tracks, what I really should have said was the fact that we can still get the order of operations in the event that this were to fail. And I think the solicitor put it out correctly later on when he's like, you can't do both at the same time.
Well, here's my confusion. What was the Gale report? Wasn't the Gale report engineers who do this for a living walking through the building, looking at the building and giving you their assessment? So what are, no disrespect to any of these folks, but what is an architect or a math teacher, whatever the occupations are, what are they going to discern that's different than what the Gale report said? The Gale report didn't say tear it down. The Gale report said this is what, at minimum, you will need to rehab it, and you could have other unforeseen issues.
Look at it from an attorney standpoint. You get, two attorneys, they may agree. You get 4 or 5 different attorneys, they're definitely not going to agree. You get realtors going into any building, your single family home. They're going to tell you your house is worth $100. The other guy's going to say 105. The other guy's going to say 95. So there's difference of opinions all over. With the Gale report, with engineers, et cetera, it's not, none of it. And Gale has done a lot of work for us. And we have found their work to be very, very high standard. There are a lot of great people out there. Once again, if you were to find something, well, we can fix that. Yes, you can. And I'm not just talking about Smith Baker. I'm talking about anything. I've had a couple of decades in real estate. Yes, you can fix it, but what is it going to cost? That's the key. You can fix anything in real estate.
Sure.
You can fix anything in a building. You can fix
a high school for
anything. What is it going to cost?
How much money will the city need up front if they're going to stop the demolition and give it to some group? You're going to need some kind of assurance that the safety components that are immediate are going to be taken care of. That's $2-3 million, if I remember correctly.
Once again, and that was in yesterday's numbers. And by yesterday, it could really be last week, last month. We'd have to run to make sure that netting and et cetera.
But would that be the minimum check turned over at signing that you, and the work needs to be completed?
It would be
to show it up within a certain number of days?
It'd probably be completed by X day. Okay. I believe that one of the speakers last night had stated that we can't get money until we have ownership or control. I think control was the word that was utilized. And I understand that from the years in real estate. You can never do something until you have site control. So if they had site control and we gave them X days, it's not 10. We know that. It's not 10 years. It's 30, 60, 90, 120, 180. But at the same time, once again, and I'm saying it in a different way, we could be putting our ducks in a row, per se, or the order of operations to how to move forward in the event that this would have failed.
Okay.
But the city would go into this with the full ability to assist, help, make sure that hey, I don't want to tear it down. There isn't a counselor there that wants to tear it. And if in the end of the day, this ends up coming down and anybody holds the council responsible, I'm never going to vote for you because you took... Then you know something, you're short-sighted. This council, every one of these councils has been definitely engaged, trying to save it, trying to make it happen. But, we're on year 22. So
multiple councils have done that. Ria Mercio's motion, really interesting. How many employees work from home? To your knowledge, do any employees still work from home 5 years post-COVID?
No.
All right.
But that's something, in a large organization of over 1,000 employees, closer to 1,100, there's something, something can happen. But I'll be sending out a reminder. I don't think it's much of a reminder, but what happens, what's going on, and we'll get to the bottom of it.
Well, she brought up an interesting point, which makes me think she didn't just pull this motion out of her out of the hat. She, because she asked, well, what if somebody's like working from home and getting paid for it, but also on sick leave?
That's easy. Yeah, that's easy enough for our.
That's fraud, right?
Yeah, that's easy enough for our folks to check on.
Does she know something? Is there
something when sometimes the council is, once again, all councils have the ear to the ground. They hear things and they want to know. So we'll check into it. We'll figure that out.
Okay.
But, once again, in the last going on close to 3 years, right? At the beginning of March, but the end of April, the next 50 days or so, it'll be 3 full years here. I can tell you this council, nobody can ever accuse that this council does not care about what's happening in the city. Nobody can ever say that the council doesn't care about the employees, because that's all they talk about. Employees, they talk about people, they talk about making it better for the residents of the city, and they have that real desire, truthfully, to make the city better tomorrow, and then make it better the next day, and make it better the next day. So probably something that was heard, and that happens often with the number of motions that we get.
All right, Lowell High School construction.
Yep.
The contingency fund is gone.
Contingency
the delay
fund
is, we now know what, 3-4 month delay?
Yeah,
minimum.
I would probably say we're in 25. We're supposed to be done by June of 26. Barring anything else, you're talking December, and quite frankly, at that point, January of 27 is fine. January 1st of 27,
or August of 27.
Well, I don't know if it's that. I don't know if it's that. But when you start talking 3 or 4 months, I'm more of this. All right, if 3 or 4 months, it's supposed to be, it was ready for end of August, September 1, September, October, November, December. Call it what it is. It's January 1st of 27.
All right. Is there any chance that you or this city council, you can't speak for them, but do you believe there is a will to try to, at this point, do whatever you can, cut whatever corners you can to make it come in on budget?
No, I don't believe so. I believe we're going to still deliver the product that everyone was promised. Will we, will it go over? It's very possible. Why the concrete floor wasn't checked on? Once again, I have 1,000 reasons I could sit here and second guess a quarterback. Should it have been? Yeah, it should have been. There's no doubt about it. I had seen it with my own eyes. The council saw it with their own eyes. In some areas is 4 inches of concrete. In other areas is 1 inch of concrete. I call it erosion. They're calling it something different, which is fine. I'm not, this is not what I do in my life. But there was some what I would call erosion, and that happened. I don't think that Teddy and Tommy back in 1921, when they poured the floor, purposely went and said, hey, let's pour 1 inch over here, 2 inches over there, and 4 inches over there. It probably was a full 4-inch slab.
It happens in 100 years, right?
It happens, So what does erosion mean? It, something underneath started taking it away. Was it water? Was it this? Was it the earth? Did Teddy and Tommy really have the foresight to put 2 inches and 4?
Why wasn't this known in 2017?
They should have.
John Haley asked.
I would imagine.
The one guy on that school building committee who really knows design and construction asked this question. Why didn't you do these borings to find that answer out?
Wouldn't, should have.
Were they done and ignored and left out of the final report for political reasons?
I can't answer that. I wasn't here.
Jim Dodd could answer that, right?
Probably, probably. But I would think that they did their boring holes. I mean, that would be, when I say boring holes, I want to make sure there's probably a more technical term than that. Mm-hmm. But I'm sure they did their holes in certain areas to make sure that all was well. I think it would be a hell of a mistake to hide something.
How did they not discover 86% asbestos saturation in certain areas?
Well, once again, I mean, when I first got here in I know where you're going.
That's serious incompetence. I don't think these guys are that incompetent.
I think that, for instance, when I first got here in April of 22, and we had a discussion about the gym coming, certain equipment was missing. And we're like, well, we think it's, guys, rip the Band-Aid off, let everybody know. One of it was the bleachers, which is another problem, but we can get into that later. But the bleachers were going to be late. And as I'm looking around the room, I said to everybody, "There's nobody here making these bleachers. You know, Teddy doesn't make them. Tommy, nobody makes. No, they're coming in from. I'm going to tell you, they were Iowa. They were built in Iowa, and I think I might be right. It's something like to that effect." And I said, "Well, the bleacher company in Iowa is late," and they're like, "Yes." I said, "Well, there's nothing you can do about that. Don't hide this stuff. There's no sense in doing it. Nobody's to blame. I mean, I suppose we could blame the bleacher company in Iowa, I suppose. But what are we going to do? It's not like bleachers are down at Target where you can just go buy another set of bleachers. We came out, told everybody they wouldn't be in for that September of 2022, and they came in December of 2022. That's great. Everything was fine. Everybody accepted it. And then we find out that they were missing two of the pulls. You know, they thought one was, acceptable, and then the two pull switches, so there should have been three. And then we finally got those reinstalled. It tore up a little bit of the track. All this stuff that, when things happen in a $381 million project, just talk about it. It's that simple, in my opinion. With the limited construction stuff that I've done in my world, I do, kitchens and bathrooms and living rooms. We find stuff all the time. And, the problems happen every single day. In this matter, if there were people hiding it, that's a problem. So getting, all of that, you have all of this stuff going on that is beyond any control of humanity, right? But if somebody hides something and that's proven, that's a problem. That's a huge problem. So we'll let it play itself as it, play itself out.
A nice segue to my next two questions. You surprised me. Because it was believed from last Thursday night's meeting, what Mr. Dow said, the MSBA isn't giving you any more money. He also said we can't value engineer anymore. Stuff has already been ordered, does not planned out, whatever. So whatever it is, you're going to pay for it, Lowell taxpayers.
We've bought all of the equipment, all of the nails,
no refunds,
all of the 2x4s, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's all there, ready to go.
All right, but did I hear you correctly? And I listened to the meetings with my kids running around like nuts. Sure. But you left open the possibility that maybe you can get more money. Is it from the MSBA or from the state?
Both. Listen.
Have you talked to people? You said you go for dinner and lunch or whatever you do with your
in a situation.
There. Can you get more money?
In a situation like this, we will be asking. There's no question about it. Right now, you got to remember, we're doing, from the OPM's point, he believes it's going to go over budget. But by how much? What is that overrun? We don't know that number yet. We're probably going to know, I hope, in the beginning of April. And we talked about it last night at the council meeting. I'm doing this from memory. I think it's April 3rd is the next OAC meeting. And then after that is be the 4th. Sorry, I'm doing this in my 5th, 6th, 7th. I think the April 7th is a Tuesday. I could probably easily look. But April 7th or the 14th, we're hoping to have them back in to explain to the council what the overrun is, and we'll go from there.
Okay, they must have some idea, right? Are we talking about a $20 million overrun, or are we talking about a $5 million overrun? Right?
I don't know.
I mean, they must know.
I think they know, and I think it's some of the gentlemen that you talked about earlier, John Haley. Well, if it's
right.
length
take
time,
the square feet,
if it's
4
length times
inches
width,
of new
but it's not always that easy.
Wow.
It's length times width times this times concrete cost. Sure, that's a number, but it's not always that, because I'm sure you get into piles. You get into micro piles. Why are we doing micro piles? Should we do another thing? What's the best way to do this? And once again, we'll be asking those questions when they come back with an answer as to how we can solve this.
Okay.
Not how we can. How we will solve this.
But an effort will be made to not let the Lowell taxpayer be on the hook for the entire amount.
If you don't ask, the answer's no, right? So I'm gonna ask, and I know that the delegation, I know they've been intact. They want to help. They've been very helpful, and we'll move forward. Okay.
Councilor Scott's question left open the door about, well, what about these people who oversaw the project, did the project, designed the project? If they were negligent, that would fall on them, wouldn't it?
I would think if negligence is there, what you had spoken about earlier, if somebody was hiding something, there's a real problem there. But once again, we got to let those cards play themselves out.
Okay. Interesting stuff.
Yeah. I think it's fascinating. I mean, it's a $381 million project, which quite frankly, when it's all it's consumed is the wrong word, but when it's realized, it's finally realized in our tax base, it's going to be $8 million, which is only 2 years away. So when people, we get into budgeting in our overall budget, and yes, the budget's going up. But when we started this project, I wasn't there, but I'm not, even as a citizen, I was like, okay, we're going to do high school, we're going to do it here or there, which, whatever. That decision was made. But the $381 million impact, this is the interesting thing about the budget. The impact on the budget is $8 million. What does that mean? That means $8 million less in other services, or we raise taxes. And I know it's a dirty word and people don't want to talk about it, but
you're going to raise taxes to make up
you have to
pay for the high school.
Right.
We knew that was coming. They gave us those estimates, right? This project of the Final Core option will cost each household X amount of dollars going forward. So you knew that. How much does this hiccup add to that? Because taxes are already going up because of the high school. We all know this, or services are going to get cut.
Correct.
Okay.
So
how much will this hiccup affect it?
In the $1 million to you and I, or to anyone listening, that is wow. That is a lot of money.
Yes.
That I wish we had it. If we had $1 million, we may not be here. But I mean, to a project the size of 381, you got to take it percentagely. Is it a $3 million problem, $5 million problem? Mm-hmm. I don't know. But I think what needs to be talked about is the fact that once this high school is completed, and and once again, please don't anyone, Golden says January 1st of 2027. I'm just using it as an example. The full realization on our taxes is a little bit over $8 million out of the potential 20. So what does that mean? All of our bond, it's like when you buy a house, you bond your house, or you have a
mortgage.
A mortgage. A bond is a mortgage. Same, just different, but same for this intent of purposes. So you have in your mortgage, and you pay $1,000 a month, and that's wonderful, and that's great, and you're happy. Well, what we bond out, or what we mortgage out, is to the tune of $20 million. It'll be $20 million. Of that $20 million, $8 million will be for the high school.
40%.
Correct.
It'll be 40% of your borrowing.
Yep. And then as time goes on, other pieces will come off. But we've been so aggressive, and rightfully so, with our horizontal construction, with our schools, with our other schools, that it'll probably stay up in that $22 million. But it's important to note, when people talk about taxes, we originally were paying probably $12 million, right? Our debt that we were paying previously in 2020, 2019, et cetera, we were probably paying anywhere around 10 million, 11 million, 12 million for the money we borrowed. Now, because of the high school and everything else, we're up to that 20 million, which means that's where the fees are. We've also gotten hit with reevaluations. I mean, houses. I was just talking to a gentleman the other day who's a dear friend, retiree, and he's like, Tom, this is difficult for me. And I said, I hear you. But as we started to talk about what he bought his house for, and this was a number of years ago, he bought it for, I think it was $91,000. Well, today his house is worth $750,000. And I said, do you think you can get that? He said, I almost fell off the floor. Fell off the chair onto the floor, because he's like, I can get that much money for my house, but where do I go? And that's, but he clearly sees the market as his,
Sure.
And this house is in Centerville. It's a 2-family in Centerville. $750,000.
Nice neighborhood you come from.
Just you call it,
quick math in my head. You said $8 million a year is the bond hit. I'm assuming 30-year bond, 240.
Sure.
That's the cost of the city's thing, and then the MSBA was picking up the other 100 million to 341, right?
That's right.
And then threw in the next 40 million to get us to the 381 because of the COVID.
Yeah, the 343 and the 38 is 381. Correct.
All right. Yeah. So the tax base is what the tax base is.
Right.
What it was in 2017, we knew it. You've accounted for it. You've budgeted for it. Now you've got to figure out how much of a hit you're going to take.
It was just very clear. We knew it. We understood but now you have to pay for it.
Right.
So, when they were talking about what it was going to cost, no matter where, no matter how.
Yeah, you were going to pay the same amount up at 𝐂𝐢, right? The
Maybe.
reimbursement rates from the MSBA were
Correct.
the same. The costs were within a handful of $1 million.
Yeah.
It was the same thing.
Well, some of it. I mean, some of the you got to remember, we're always talking about a 79% reimbursement rate from MSVA, where the actualization is probably sometime around 62, 63.
Yeah, they didn't give you 79.
No, they don't. They give you 70.
Only Lawrence gets that.
They give you 79 on all the appropriate costs. So, and some of those costs are not appropriate, whether you buy land, stuff like that. Probably we wouldn't have bought land, right?
So is this going to create a budgeting crisis for you going forward?
No,
You
because
seem calm.
you have to be. You know, I mean, you have to stay calm in this, because this is a project that, first of all, the kids of Lowell, they deserve what is happening in first class, a first class facility. Right. We're not backing down on that. It is going to cost money. My job is to actually, you know, take the hit, try to explain the finances behind it. And everybody understands finances until we start paying for it. You know, and once again, I think people are starting to really understand. Now, there has been pothole central everywhere in Massachusetts. You know, we just need that one more winter that's not going to be the way it was. We were great up until I'd say mid-January. Things were fine. And then, of course, with that real cold snap, things have exploded. We have it all running. We know exactly where we're at. We're putting another, you know, X amount of millions of dollars. Haven't committed it to memory, but just saw the streets. We have the streets back out as to what's going to be happening with road preservation. And this council, the citizens of Lowell, should be very proud of what's happening. I see people. I'm that same guy that goes to Market Basket. I love to shop. My wife hates it, and I see people. Oh wow, you know, that road just got done. Hey, did you see that pothole? People tell me potholes, right? Potholes. Sidewalks. There was a gentleman talking about sidewalks last night. This council went from 5% to 7% on our capital budget, therefore increasing the amount of money we could spend on sidewalks. All of this horizontal construction, the excitement that's happening with Link that is just so far out, but I want everyone to remember, when it happens, these conversations have been happening every single day. When it happens, it's going to be tough. There's going to be a lot of activity going on between Link and between the UEF, which Mayor Rourke and the entire council is supporting. The Economy Forum coming to Lowell. Those folks hopefully will be here in the next 4 to 6 weeks. We've had great discussions. Lowell is the place to be. I can't stress enough that this is going all the way into Washington. We're talking to folks about the UEF. Mayor Rourke's been part of this. Council's been part of this. And everyone knows it as the Canadian first front-runner city. Right. But this is the real stuff that's happening on a daily basis, along with Link. Talking to Julie Chen is like, I sometimes talk to Julie more than I talk to Joan. So, the university is that economic engine. Phil Sisson, just spoke with him last week. Things are going well with him. There's a lot of positive stuff going on, and there's a lot of potential. I've stated the irons next to the fire. We have irons in the fire now, and there's just a lot of excitement in the city. And unfortunately, taxes are part of it.
So you took me to where I wanted to go, and I know you have to go somewhere, and I have to get this uploaded by noon because I promised people they're going to get it by noon. So Link update and a Frontrunner City update. Frontrunner City. Last we left at you have a signed deal.
Yes. Yep.
Is there? I still hear skepticism. What's the skepticism?
People can be skeptical, until people are skeptical about Link. I mean, I've been there. I've had the ability to be there with Julie, talking with major companies, with Draper being one of them. And as I've told you from the beginning, I was so happy I could finally say Draper. This has been 2 years in the making of talking about this company, Draper. And now they're out in the open. There are other things happening with Link, and people still don't think it's real. Well, I'll tell you what. We're spending
until you see the shovels on the ground and the steel going up.
We're spending a really lot of time. It's real.
President Meehan sat here and kind of hinted, though, that with the high interest rates, construction, that was kind of might hold things up a little bit. We'd already be working, he said, but the high interest rates.
That's right.
Those rates are coming down. Is Link still on schedule? Is that,
yes.
2026 for the first phase to be done, right? Phase 0 was the first phase.
Yeah,
really,
phase 0, which was, from a marketing standpoint, was unbelievable. Phase 0 was excellent. Phase 1, yeah, there is a 1.8 as well. Okay. There's so there's phase 0, which is getting the companies to plant the flag here over at Wanalancet, which Julie Chen came up with. It was a dynamite idea. Then you have, 1, 2, 3, and 4. We also have a 1A. and we're working on 1A that actually may go before 1.
What's 1A?
It's another potential for a building, and that's something that the council is
On East Campus or Hamilton Canal?
It's something the council is very, very well aware of.
Somewhere else in the city. I won't say Hamilton Canal.
No, it could be any place in the city, and the council's aware of it. But once again, I understand the skepticism. I get it for Link. I get it for the UEF. I get it for the front. I should start calling it the front runner city. I get it for the front runner city. But I can assure you that what is happening is the amount of work that's happening. So much work happens behind the scenes before the shovel is even put in the ground.
Right. Well, Link, there isn't much skepticism. They know Marty Meehan. When he says, I'm going to get something done, he gets it done. He's got a proven track record. The city struggled. We see Hamilton Canal, and we say, yeah, promises, promises. But it is striking me. You signed a deal. What did that deal say?
To go to the next, the way the UEF runs Front Runner City, they have fences, they have hurdles. So we are starting the process of hurdling over. As a guy that used to hurdle many years ago.
I did too. I tripped one time.
But terrible.
Their social media sites, the World Economic Forum, said, they had like a huge spread, all these things that happened, and they put the picture of you and Mayor Rourke signing a document, and they said, and Lowell became the first front runner city in America.
Yeah, States. We're in Canada, I think, for 22 hours.
Are you going back? What could...
I love being there. We were there for 22 hours. It wasn't exactly the trip that I was thinking. But Dan and I, the mayor and I, touched down, dropped our bag, went to an event that lasted till 9 p.m., woke up the next morning, ate at Denny's, jumped on a flight back to Lowell, and you'll have to kid with the mayor. Coming in was a...
Did he buy?
Coming in was a trick. It was the flight was moving.
A little windy. Okay.
Yeah, coming off Ontario, it was moving.
But is there going to be a smooth landing with this thing?
I believe so, 100%.
Is the next phase something that could trip it up?
No. The next phase is that we're actively talking to them to come to Lowell, and that we've had some dates, and it's so important that we want all of the key players to be here. One player couldn't make it. They were still willing. I said, guys, let's move it out a couple more weeks, because, and everyone's committing. We're going to do it here. I want all of the key players to come down here and see what we have to offer. They already know. I was going
to say, because they didn't sign a deal with you without... Right. They're not coming to Lowell to say, okay, do we want to do this or not?
So
right?
Giovanni Rose, Baez-Rose, did a fabulous job. Okay. And during one of the discussions when we were all up there, we broke everything out. They love what they love it. They love what they see. We've had to share so much information with them, and they just keep eating up the information like you wouldn't believe. Now they're like, oh, I like this. And these are all spots throughout the city. What could we do here? This is exciting. What do you think? Could we do this? And they throw back. This isn't just us throwing ideas. They come back and we start mixing stuff. But now they're physically going to see, this location. They love the fact that we have a train in Lowell. They love the fact that there are opportunities in that walkable area, which happens to coincide with what Governor Baker did and Governor Healy continued with the MBTA zoning. So in that area, they didn't know the MBTA zoning existed. They were just happy that we were, visualizing what could happen in that MBTA area, which quite frankly is out there. I know Giovanni has made multiple presentations, so it's probably someplace on our website. But they looked at that and said, "You guys are really moving this, in that direction." We told them about the MBTA zone, and they were thrilled. They're like, "So this?" I said, "We've been working on this for 2.5 years." Once again, 2.5 years of really getting MBTA off. There's not a shovel in the ground. Link has been about 2 years, and there's not a shovel in the ground. UEF, or first, front runner city, has been, well, Dan's, the mayor's picked this up, I think it was September of last year, came back, I think it was September of last year, came back and said, yeah, let's look at it, right? Let's look at this, and rapidly moved, and it's because of the activity between us, the state, the fact that we have a relationship with the university, which is just, they're not used to having, having folks that are interested in partnering. And I think that's the biggest key here in the city of Lowell. And some people will read this or listen to this and talk about this, partnering, that's a bunch of, malarkey. And that's not true. That is not true. We had folks from the UEF, from the first front runner city, talking about so you can actually talk to the president of the university. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. You know the chancellor. I'm like, yeah.
Does that not happen in Toronto or other areas where they've been involved?
They've had other, you know, you can talk. We've already talked to I've talked to the lieutenant governor at length, the governor quickly.
What about Washington, D.C.? I mean, this is the first front-runner city in the United States of America. It should be something that they're listening in Washington, D.C. I'm sure Congresswoman Trahan is on this. Is the White House on this? Is this something they can help with?
Knows all about it, knows exactly what's happening, has been super supportive as usual. And the next question is, yes, I'm not bold enough to say that the White House knows about it, but the people that will be working with the White House knows about it. They know about it. So there are people that I've personally talked to and the UEF have talked to have discussions with Washington, because this is what we're looking for. And all of this stuff that talks, you know, it makes me a little, you know, the tariff stuff, that's a national level. If anyone knows me, and we've talked about, I pay attention to but I'm more of a homebody. Even as a state legislator, yes, I'm aware of what happens, but I try not to get into that. I'm trying to deal with my world, right? And from the local side, I can tell you that, yes, we have been in contact with people that, especially the United States senators, as well as more so is Congresswoman Trahan.
This tariffs thing, is that...
we had a discussion.
I don't see how I mean, you're not trading goods back and forth. This is real estate deals, investment, et cetera, right?
They see it as a great opportunity.
Okay.
You know, because
even with the tariff
there's a lot of tension, and it's not necessary. I mean, I'm sure you know people from Canada. I know other people from Canada. There's no animosity.
Well, when they boo our national anthem,
that was tough. That was tough to take.
That's got to stop.
But you know, I was very proud of how people in Boston reacted.
Yeah, we behaved.
And you know something, I think that sends a lot. I think that sends a message, a clear message that, you know, let's have class.
All right.
You know, we can, you know, and especially in social media, which I don't spend a lot of time on, there's a lot going on back and forth. People don't have to like, but let's just get to, a final point where, as this city council has pushed, tomorrow needs to be better than it was yesterday. Next week needs to be better than it was last month. Next year is going to be better than it was last year, and just continuing to grow the city of Lowell into what it already is. And I challenge anybody. We are the premier mid-sized city. We are working hard. We continue to work hard. We hold ourselves accountable. We'll continue to hold ourselves accountable. And if anybody doesn't believe that, I don't know what to say. I'll tell you when we make a mistake, or when I make a mistake on it. It's easy, because you make so many different decisions. You need to continue to move forward, and nobody is interested in the bickering between Tommy and Teddy. They're not interested, because it's not getting the job done. And the job is to make sure that Lowell is the premier city, not only here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, but quite frankly, you want to talk about New England, you want to talk about the United States. UEF, what the mayor really did and brought this together, what the council has endorsed, what Julie Chen and Marty Meehan is doing with the support of this administration, this council. I think I say explosive. I need a new word, but it is explosive what is happening here in the city of Lowell.
All right, and we'll wrap up with the Parker Lecture Series, because the city is very involved in this. Last year, you guys helped bring in a pretty big deal, Admiral 𝐂𝐐
Sensible guy
who carried the nuclear football.
He did, yeah,
for a little while. I loved meeting and talking to him.
What a guy, right? I mean, and I knew his brother Brian, and boy, I heard I wish Brian were around, because I could give him a hard time about the brotherly love of them beating each other up and stuff. So.
So you've got something, I don't know, depending on your sphere of hobbies and passions and loves, it may or may not top Admiral 𝐂𝐲's visit, but you've got a big deal coming this spring.
If you like politics, this could be for you. If you'd like to talk to a mayor of Boston, this could be for you. If you'd like to talk to a Secretary of Labor, this could be for you. And if you'd like to talk to somebody who's in charge of the National Hockey League Players Association, this could be for you.
And mentioned as potential NHL commissioner at some point.
Yes.
Marty Walsh. Boston Mayor is going to be coming to Lowell.
I've been talking to Marty. He's a dear friend. We shared space together. We had a suite, as they call them in Boston. You have 4 or 5 reps.
You served with him, right? In the legislature.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We shared a suite together and had all his staff, he's a wonderful guy. So I've convinced him to come in, and we're looking at probably doing something, I'm hoping in May, So that's really right around the corner. It's going to be a Thursday. That seems to work most. But you know, I don't even know what to call him anymore. You know, Mr. Mayor, Secretary, Mr. President, whatever the hell he is. You know, but Marty is just a great guy, and he's agreed to do it, and he's going to come in and talk about all things, all things. You know, same way that Admiral Gilday did it. Such a gentleman. Met with some of our local kids. Really kind of pushed the envelope on a lot of stuff. What a great guy he was. I know Marty obviously much better, and to meet him, to be in Marty's presence, you'll enjoy it. You really will. And I you know, it's going to be an exciting time.
Give me that date when you know it, so I don't make plans. Last year, unfortunately, I had plans and couldn't stick around to ask my question.
Yeah, we've been talking about it. The Parker Lecture Series is a big part of this. We want to make sure that we give them a shout out.
They bring some great guests.
They do. They do a great job, and we're just trying to dial it in a different way. And it's something that we should actually talk about as 2026 coming forward with the bicentennial, which we're working hard on, and we want people's ideas.
All right. Your next visit next month.
Excellent. Loved it.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Teddy.
All right. Lowell City Manager Tom Golden joining us here on the Daily Pulse, Wednesday, March 5th, 2025. We'll be back with you tomorrow for the Thursday edition of the Daily Pulse. Till then, everybody enjoy what's kind of a mild day out there today. Of course, whatever day you're watching this on, who knows what the weather's going to be. But inside Lowell, if Lowell is your home, this is your place, and the Daily Pulse gets right to the heart of it. We'll talk to you soon.